One of the questions I have is, you used to live in Utah. Born and raised in Utah?
I was down in the southern part of the state, which is a much different place than the population centers in Utah Valley and Salt Lake Valley.
Why did you move to Idaho?
Well, Utah's getting too crowded. Too many people, hunting opportunities becoming way harder to access. And I don't mean by like literal access, but just even getting a permit. So when I was a kid, you could go as a 14-year-old and buy an archery permit for mule deer. And if you didn't get one during the 4 weeks of archery season, you just go back to the gas station, buy a rifle permit. If you didn't get one during the rifle season, you could go to the gas station, buy a muzzleloader permit. All over the counter, right? At that point, I don't remember the year, but I remember distinctly when the state of Utah hit 1 million people, right? It was kind of this big milestone everybody's chattering about. Well, the state of Utah is well over 3 million people. And I moved to LA for 2 years when I first took a full-time editing job, and then was relocated for 4 years to Illinois. Didn't want to raise my kids out there, so that's when I transitioned to writing full-time. We moved back to central Utah. And with all the traveling I was commuting in about an hour and a half north to the Salt Lake City airport regularly. And that corridor going up I-15 is horrible. There's always construction. The roads were bad. They were always crowded. And it was a very stressful experience for me. And I just didn't like it. Plus the pollution in those valleys is horrible. And simultaneously, the hunting opportunity there, I don't want to talk bad about my native state, right? But lots of people that want to hunt and lots of encroachment on traditional wintering grounds by new neighborhoods and subdivisions. A couple of really bad winter kills over the past 7 or 8 years now. It got to the point where to draw a general season deer tag in southern Utah where I grew up took about 5 years. And you had to choose your season. You couldn't hunt all 3 anymore, unless you got into the dedicated hunter program or some other things like that. But it got so hard to even just obtain a tag, an allegedly general season tag. The point creep for the limited entry, the special draw tags for big bull elk and bison and bighorn sheep and things like that, they've grown to the point now where I'm not even putting my kids in for them, because those kids will go their lifetime putting in with the system as it currently is and never have a reasonable chance of drawing. You're throwing away good money now. So I was tired of the people, the hard commute, the smog.
The type of people or the quantity of people?
The quantity, and the type was fine. I mean, Utah's full of good people. There's a lot of great people there, and I've got very good friends. We were really close to our neighbors where I left, but it was the quantity of people. And there were a variety of aspects, but I've got roots in Idaho as well, some distant family roots. I went to school here for a while and just felt like the right place to go. I looked in western Wyoming a lot. That was our initial destination, but then we transitioned to Idaho.
Too cold.
Yeah.
Too cold, too windy.
Yeah, it can be, yeah, but the hunting opportunities are fantastic,
really?
Yeah.
So I don't use that question to be negative about Utah. I think it's so that we can sort of like critically reflect.
Sure.
Are those changes occurring primarily because as the population has gone up, there's more hunting pressure and competition for opportunity? Or do you feel like it's because natural spaces are impacted by, I mean, it's obviously a combination of both, but what do you attribute it primarily to, sort of the growth of urban areas, or?
It's both. So, and there's a third factor in there, which is, funny enough, something I contribute to with the podcast, and that's the trendiness and the current popularity of the backcountry hunting lifestyle. So to start at the beginning, yeah, the population is like tripled. And so there are a lot more people that want those permits. Winter range is an area that's particularly been hit hard. Where my house was in South Utah County down there was traditional mule deer wintering range. And I recognize that. When I bought that house, there were 4 homes on that big long ridge. When we left, there were over 900. Whoa. 7 years later. That tells you how the population is booming there. Half my neighbors commuted north into the Salt Lake Valley for work. They didn't want to live in the Salt Lake Valley, but they needed to be close enough. And more people were driving an hour to work. You know, that's so much of your life lost, an hour going, an hour coming. And then, of course, concurrently, there's podcasts, there's social media, there's TV, all these various factors that are driving people to hunt. And it's a beautiful thing in the fact that people are more informed and more capable than ever before. And my brother coined a term, Navy SEAL hunters. And it's kind of apt, because when I was a kid, if you got 1.5 miles off the road, you didn't see anybody except maybe a cowboy with a Winchester 30-30 on their saddle as they worked cattle 5 or 6 miles back in, and maybe they're going to see a big buck or an elk or something and shoot it meanwhile. But now you go 5 miles off the road and all you find is more trail cameras and more people, because it's become trendy to do that. In fact, there's now this, you know, some people have a term for it, like a middle ground or whatever, or the missed space, where people are saying, all right, well, you either hunt within 1/2 mile of the road or 5 miles back. Those are the high impact areas. If you can get 1.5 miles to 2.5 miles off, there's this belt of ignored country.
Yeah.
So strategies are evolving, you know.
I hate the feeling of competition, though. It takes a lot of the fun out of it for me.
It's so hard when the pressure is skyrocketing and the people hunting are very effective. We've got long-range rifles, better optics than ever before, ammunition that's more effective at greater distances than ever before, and mapping, you know, electronic mapping functions that allow us to get in there and drop waypoints and project waypoints and do things. They're all fantastic tools, but they create a level of pressure and competition that's very hard to keep up with. Yeah. And as you age, like me, I mean, I'm bona fide middle-aged now. You get a lot slower. You recover less quickly after an extremely hard day of packing meat. It's harder to compete with, you know, a 30-year-old hunter that's in great shape, that's single, and that has all the tools and resources and really knows how to use them. That guy's going to out-hunt me now, unless I can out-strategize him, be a little bit smarter.
But I think for me, hunting is about competition with the game, and at a certain point, it's a literal expression of supremacy over another animal, which I don't mean it in any sort of malevolent way, in that there's the utmost respect for this other animal, but no animal wants to die, and so you are expressing your superiority with the tools that we have, which give us an advantage. But
sure.
For me, it's I just really move away from competition, because it's obviously, what a luxury to be able to move away from competition, but it's such a turnoff for me. I don't want to be competing with other hunters and thinking about how the elk are going to move because of the pressure. I want to be hunting wild animals, you know.
Which is one reason Alaska is so fantastic. If you can get deep away from everybody else, you hunt game that may have never seen another human. You can count on nobody else shooting and messing up your stock, you know. But yeah, that was a big reason I moved to Idaho, is to get away from some of the pressure and competition. I think sometimes I didn't move far enough into Idaho. If I'd have gone right into central Idaho, you know, then it's a long drive for anybody from out of state wanting to come and pressure your area.
Living close to there, it's also a long drive to go anywhere, and and you're really, once you're in the mountains, you can't see the mountains.